Whoa. Whoa, yes. Nice. I knew out of 3 rods something was gonna happen, and I was hoping soon. I was hoping way before it got dark. Things did not start out great this week because of a cold front, but they're ending up pretty okay. Definitely better than they started. This is fighting interesting. Whoa. This has a good fight to it. I'm not sure what we have here. If we have a cat, we might have something else, but I'm not sure. Let me get it up here. It's fighting pretty good. Oh, look at this. We have a redfish. That's what we have. Oh. That is a keeper. We have new state regulations coming up, but they are not in place. And this, I believe, fits the bill for today. It is a legal keeper, and I'm keeping it. I don't think I'm going to keep much more than this as far as redfish goes. The reach of Babylon is far and wide. A lot of people think Babylon is just a city. It is more of a mentality. It's not city versus country. Getting out of Babylon isn't just essentially about leaving cities behind. It's not about getting in the Toyota or the Chevy or the Ford, heading away from the city, putting on a flannel shirt and a belt buckle and a pair of boots, buying a bunch of guns, and then figuring out what all you can shoot. That's not necessarily going to get you out of Babylon. That might be a part of it for you. However, Babylon is a mentality, and it's far and wide. Back many days ago, many years ago, it was pretty easy to get away from the Babylon mentality. But then you have social media, you have the internet, right? That is why Babylon, the mentality of Babylon, the sickness of Babylon, reaches far and wide. But don't kid yourself. The city is the heart of Babylon. That's where the viper pit is. That's where it's all compacted, condensed. However, you can get way out in the middle of nowhere and still feel the toxins, the poison that is Babylon, because it's a mentality more than it is a location. I used to think that getting away from Babylon was as simple as getting away from cities. That's not the case anymore because of social media, because of the internet. You might be able to get out of Babylon to the point where you don't hear it through your window. You don't hear it when you walk outside. You don't hear the traffic. You don't hear the people. But you go to the store and there it is. You turn on your computer and there it is, infecting you. You can go way out in the country but never lose the mentality of Babylon. Never lose, that immense amount of human greed and avarice that exists there. I'm going to get this meat that I left on here. I'm not throwing it out. You got this big old spinal column here. When you do a straight cut, your blade is riding. You might be able to get this tight, but this big spinal column here is going to make your blade ride high either on this end or that end. Depends on what angle you choose. you could make a pretty good argument that you never really fully purge Babylon from your life. You can physically remove yourself from Babylon, but did you remove Babylon from you? Yeah, so take this for instance. Take it with a grain of salt as well. I sometimes find that, or I think that it's going to be easier if I pull out the electric fillet knife, and then I realize it's not always easier. But I persevere with it. Persevere. Go forward. At one time where I currently live felt really far from Babylon. These days, it is what it is. A suburb of Babylon. An outpost of Babylon, just on the outside. It is a small town that is getting built up. It has a traffic flow through it that is almost 24/7 because of a LNG plant way down below it that is probably going to be a construction project that'll last for possibly another 2 years. Missed a scale. If you don't know, LNG means liquefied natural gas. And you know, I've had this Piranha Mr. Twister electric fillet knife for many seasons. It's probably time to replace it, because after a while they're not as powerful, or they don't seem as powerful. Sometimes some of these, not this particular one, but quite a few of these electric fillet knives may not last you through a season, depending on how much you use it. But there are many of them out there that are famous for crapping out after a season, or even in the middle of a season, if you got a lot of fish to cut with it. I don't use it very often. Mostly use this when I have a lot to do, or I feel like it's going to get me through what I want fast, because I do have other things to do after this, but I'm hungry. Personally, I am getting out of Babylon. I'm on a time frame for it. However, it's going to be a while. Some of us can just get up and go. A lot of us, like myself, have to start a time frame, start a plan, and we're going to work our way towards it, right? And eventually we will be out of Babylon. However, in the meantime, why suffer? If you don't like Babylon, you don't agree with everything that's around you, the horrible mentality of Babylon, you know, just humans being at their worst, but you can't leave it right away. You can purge it from yourself, purge it from your soul, and still be around it, but maintain. And that's where I'm at right now. Calling on inner strengths and outer strengths, such as, you know, however you want to look at it. You could say Yahweh, you could say Jah, you could say God, you could say spiritual center. But yeah, whatever you do, wherever you find your energy, your connection with the world or with God, that's what you do. And that will bolster you and pick you up, and you will be able to excel and get away from what you deem as Babylon. Now, like I said, Babylon's reach is far and wide. So, can you get away from Babylon without leaving Babylon? I think to a point, to a degree, but at the end of the day, it is as simple as leaving Babylon behind physically, but you have to be there mentally. So, I am preparing myself mentally to say goodbye. Goodbye to Babylon. Also preparing myself for lunch. I did 2 fillets off of one. I got a thick one and a thin one. You can do that sometimes. I really wanted to do this yesterday after catching this. That was the plan before I started out the door. But then when I was getting out the door, someone got a hold of me, someone that hangs upside down when they sleep, and wanted to go do something later. And I agreed. I changed my plans. I altered things. Kind of cutting this fillet off here a little weird. Yeah, I was looking forward to everything that I was going to do with my friend because he wanted to go on an adventure. There we go. Those plans fell apart on his end. Some bones right here. I will deal with that just like this. So if you've ever been to a rainbow gathering, which I'm sure most of you have not, but I'm sure that there is somebody who is watching this video right now that has, and people that are aware of what they are. Well, if you go there a lot, or if you did back through the 90s, if you spent a lot of time visiting rainbow gatherings and hanging out with rainbow people, you know, they're hippies, you'll hear them say, beware the vampires, watch out for the vampires. Now, what they're actually talking about is real, sure. They're talking about people, but sometimes it changes, right? I don't think they were necessarily talking about Craig, but that's who I was going to hang out with last night. In hippie jargon, a vampire is someone that drains the energy from you, right? Well, maybe that's what happened last night, but he wasn't physically around me. He didn't like physically drain my energy, but I spent some time seeing what he was going to do, and you know, it fell apart, and I just decided that we would get some sleep and get up in the morning, like right now. It is morning time right now, and we would cut this fish and make lunch. There's nobody draining my energy right now besides yours truly, me. To save time and just, you know, so I'm not making everything dirty, instead of putting this on a cutting board and using the fillet knife, I'm using these kitchen shears. After I rinse each fillet in pieces, I'll just cut it up into little pieces, little cubes, roughly about 1 inch square or so, or give or take. Look at this, with these bigger pieces, you can just, bam, pull it apart. Check it out, that's actually all of it, both fillets. I'm cooking all of this. This is not just lunch, it's dinner as well. And maybe I'll have some left over, but yeah, I'm cooking it all right now. We're doing something really, really simple. Let's season it with this. We are going to open the bay. Dump that in there. It's a lot of fish and it's wet, so we're going to put what I deem as a decent amount, something like that. Now, it looks extreme, right? It might not once I do this, because we got to mix it in. All right, about done. Because the pieces were all wet, mixing with the Old Bay kind of makes a marinade. And I want to clean the kitchen and stuff before I start cooking, so this is going to have time to soak up that seasoning and marinate, but we're going to put it in the fridge. Almost there. Mentally preparing yourself to leave Babylon, strengthening yourself against it. Or look at it this way, leaving Babylon without physically leaving Babylon. Very difficult, because let's face it, we're surrounded by negativity, negative people, just negative things. One of the ways to strengthen yourself, well, one of the ways that I strengthen myself is I eat what I'm supposed to. I eat good food. I try my best to not consume the garbage that's out there. I must admit, I have temptations. I find myself once in a blue moon walking into McDonald's or Taco Bell However, I try extremely hard to keep the garbage out of my body, and that is a good way to start strengthening yourself against the negative toxin, the negative poisons of Babylon. You know, that's just the garbage that's around us, whether it be food or people, media, a mentality, just you name it. There is an elephant in the room. I've alluded to it. I haven't mentioned it much, but your relationship with God or a higher power, because not all of you are believers in one thing or another, or believers of, you know, maybe some of you don't, and maybe some of you believe in different things, follow different religions, but connect with it. I'm trying to remain neutral on that, so I'm relatable to a lot of people. Anyway, connect with that. However, it is true, eating right, putting pure, clean stuff in your body, and eating the right amounts of it, not overdoing it, will help you have a better relationship. The body is the temple, right? Just a little bit of peanut oil. I'm not deep frying this. I'm not even really frying it. Very little. Don't need much. That's good right there. Time for a clean kitchen towel. Yeah, you're right. So here pretty soon, about in mid-December, it will be a year for me being sober. I gave up alcohol last year, way before New Year's Eve. I just had enough of it. I know if you're that person, you're probably hearing a lot of people say that to you, or you've heard that a lot. You know, this is not like a step program here. I'm not an AA person, but you've probably had someone say something to you to the effect of, you know, religion or whatever will help you turn your back on alcohol. Now, I'm not one of those people. It wasn't religion that helped me give up alcohol. It was just me. It was just my desire to give up. Giving up vices like that makes it easier to deal with the negativity of Babylon. It's much easier to prepare yourself, to make yourself stronger against it, prepare yourself to leave it, or to purge it out of your body if you're not drunk all the time. It's hard to deal with all the crap around you when you're drunk, because you're not really dealing with it. Not trying to say if you drink that you're wrong, but you know, there's a lot of people out there that drink for the wrong reasons. And you know, it is what it is. Moderation is moderation, right? So yeah, you're right. I'm not telling you to stop drinking, but if it's a problem for you, maybe you should. If you have a problem with it, maybe you should. Yeah, you're right. So this is Friday and I'm eating fish, but for you it's Saturday. I was not raised Catholic. I was raised Catholic light, right? I was raised in the Episcopal Church, Episcopalian. And we didn't really ever have the tradition of eating fish on Friday, or not eating red meat during the weekend or on Friday, anything like that. All this comes later to me because, you know, to be honest, I am an amateur theologist. When I was growing up, a big portion of my family wanted me to become a priest or a preacher, you know, but I had different ideas. I didn't want that. I still have a great interest in theology, you know, in religion. A theologist is someone who studies religion. Waiting for my oil to heat up. Someone the other day criticized me and said, this is M. Hood talking, you know, like I should change the name of the channel to M. Hood talking instead of M. Hood fishing, and then they had blah, 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 blah. Yeah, sometimes I really want to read the comments, but then there's jerks like that, and You know, they're obviously trolls because they have some trolly looking name. And yeah, I talk a lot. That's probably something that a lot of people like. If I did not talk a lot, I probably wouldn't be the person you're watching right now. You probably wouldn't be watching. That is over medium. It's like number 3, right, on an electric range. So I always think 5 is medium high, and then you back off, and 3 is like about medium low. So this is within the range of medium, right? We don't want to cook this on a high heat. There's always somebody that says, oh, you gotta cook fish on a high heat. No. Fish will get done on a medium heat. It just takes longer than on a high heat. But sometimes when you're cooking everything on a high heat, you'll overcook it, or you tend to overcook it, right? You run the risk of overcooking it. In many ways you could say that. We want to cook this a little slower. It gives the time for the flavor to sink in. And look, the pan is crowded. So, how are we going to rush this up? Well, we're not going to rush it up, but we are going to help by essentially doing this. The lid, put the lid on it, and just let it sit. We'll come back here in a little bit, might even do some dishes. This has essentially been about 10 minutes. Look at that. See all that moisture? Like I told you, I never intended to fry this fish. What I intended was to have it get poached in an oily liquid with that seasoning, and I wanted to do it slow so all that flavor gets into the fish. This is a simple, humble meal, mostly white. I don't think it's quite there yet. We're gonna give it maybe another 10 minutes. Might even kick that heat down. Yeah, let's kick that heat down from 3 to 1 and take the dogs out. Whoa, that insinuated that you're coming with me. You're not. I'm going out with the dogs, just me and the dogs. And me and the dogs are back. This is looking done. We're going to turn it off. Be humble. Fish and rice. Yeah, you're right. If you want to leave Babylon, it starts here. Best place to start rather than at the ignition. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes you have to just go with a very humble, simple meal. Fish and rice. Can you get more humble than that? More simple? Yeah, just rice. Fish and rice? Wow. The Old Bay and the redfish along with the rice. This is jasmine rice. Whoa. Good combination. Just need to eat, just need something to feed me. Doesn't have to be fancy right now. Obviously I've done something right, because not only do we have a red bone coming in to the zone, we've got the attentive eyes of a little other dog, Yaz, the small one, watching us from afar. They've both eaten already, but this obviously is tickling the fancy. Yeah, you're right. Stay strong. Whew. Get rid of the toxins and the negativity, and everything will be all right. Thanks for watching. See you next time.